In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. All right. So, hello everyone. I am ridiculously exhausted and sleepless, and I was actually about to go sleep. But a sequence of an idea arose to me, and I noticed something further out of the depth of the reality I normally perceive, and I wanted to share this. I think I have an interesting argument and again sequence of concepts here. So in the title you will see that I've written the mind is the brain's strategy to discover truth, and then I've also written a being that simulated reality to notice truth. And so I have spoken about reality in many different ways, both shared the perspective of others and shared the perspective of myself. And so this might be a short lecture, but the idea is anyways important. I will share it. So guys, it occurred to me that not only is there so many different ways to look at the moment, but that these different ways that we can look at the moment, they may be correct, they may be wrong, but they can still help us to be able to see in what other ways reality moves. I want you to imagine that getting to know a person is to, in some sense, getting to see how they move. How does their body move? How does their mind move? How does their identity move? Right? And so we human beings, part of our life, a majority, but let's say a big section of our lives is in some sense to get to know others. Now, in this process of getting to know another person, you look at what they are, and in some sense, again, how they're active in what they are. And pretty much you are getting to know again how a being, an individual moves. Now I'm telling you, okay, imagine you want to get to know the world. Now the world is a bit strange. It has intelligent expression within it, but also expression that is not as intelligent. What do I mean? That means pretty much this is the hypothesis, okay? The deep down macro truth of reality is a mystery, and it may be unknowable. But in regards to pretty much the insight I have today is that I felt like I figured out how to explain like what the brain is doing by, in some sense, there being a presentation of mind. Now the mind, if you're an atheist, your brain owns it. You know, if you're a theist, the system admin of the existential sector owns it. That means your soul owns, in some sense, the mind. Okay, so it's a question of ownership of it, in some sense, or the ultimate administration of it. The view is this, that could the brain access, I don't know how to say this, your conscious intelligence is functions through your ego, the idea of you, okay? But I am, as a being, convinced that if on a cellular level the body is this intelligent and the cells inside the body already know what to do before we're conscious, that means I'm not conscious of what's going on inside my body, but my body is kept. I can consciously move my limbs and hands, and people can do backflips, but we don't have conscious control over our cells or the awareness of all the cells in our body, right? Now, the point I'm saying this is that subconsciously we may be ridiculously, all of us, smarter, and what the brain is doing may be different than what a persona wants to verify in, I guess, a projected view. So think of it this way. Based on the dimensions to you, there are, let's say, possible values. To me, I was like, let's say that there's a part of us that is so smart, so intelligent. There's something about the human intelligence that's just so intelligent that it has realized it's inside a simulation. Maybe people consciously have not, but I believe subconsciously everyone has. So what is the strategy for a simulated being? Okay. Now, what I have understood is that human beings are taking the wrong part of the moment as reality. So think of it this way. If I'm in a world that's completely true, by the mere sight of it, everything is true. But what if I'm in a simulated world? What if I'm a simulated being right now? How can I find truth? I believe that there is divine genius. In my life, I have witnessed this. Divinity is in some sense the will of how the realm brings, in some sense, positions, how you're positioned in the realm by that which is beyond your will. And genius is how far your will could go. The human will could go. Anytime you hear the word divine, it has to do with higher power, and the human is considered as a lower power. And do not be afraid. This world has made you feel that if you're not one thing that everybody wants you to be, you have no value. Ladies and gentlemen, this world is not the most advanced human civilization. We don't see the most advanced human civilization. We don't see the most advanced activity of humans. I don't want to give you a cop-out answer like, compared to the past, everything's more advanced. No. It is very clear to me that everything that we are not aware, think of it this way, when we look at a moment of life, it has known variables and it has unknown variables. It's not 100% known. The whole moment of one's intelligence is not 100% known. You can choose to, as an idea, verify. Like you can't see familiar patterns, but the moment has unknown variables, because nothing can account for, it's like, how do I say it? A form cannot account for a force, or they would be the same thing. Do you understand? There's a reason we look at a form of something and we're like, yo man, That's different from, in some sense, being a force. In some sense, it's contained. Anyways, where am I going with this? If we're inside a simulation, and if we're subconsciously geniuses here, I am under this impression that the brain is intentionally simulating a reality. So it's like a trick question. What do you do inside an illusion? Okay? What do you do inside an illusion? Okay? Well, or what do you do in a world that you don't know if it's an illusion or not? Okay? You have to verify it somehow. Correct? Like you need to verify reality. Okay, now what are the options? You either go run after truth, so you're a simulated being, you're inside a simulation, okay, but you don't know the true nature of everything. So I think what's going on is that this might sound strange, but I think the body knows it will die. I think that our minds are not aware, conscious of death. I think the body, it has a fear of pain. It has there is modes of continuity in all of this, but I feel pretty much I'm trying to say that our brain is simulating a reality inside a simulation. So first simulation, physical world, then you have this intelligence here that is simulating another world. So think of it this way. How do I explain this? I'm trying to say the brain is using a ridiculous strategy by generating a mind. Okay, so it's like, how do I explain it? It's like a part of you is being somewhere, but a part of you doesn't know where it's being. Oh, exactly. Doesn't know if it's simulated or true. So it either has to assume it has to find a way to figure out what's true or not. Okay? Now, I think what the brain is doing, and I'm having a tough time trying to explain this lecture, but trust me, there's something here. I'm telling you, it's like for a moment before I gave this lecture, I was like, wait a minute, is my body identifying as a subjective realm which it knows it's not? Like, we know, like, if we're truly material beings, we know we should just be satisfied with an objective position, but the being is not satisfied with an objective position. It's like we're inside a simulation, and the method of trying to find truth is to create another simulation and to, in some sense, see how much of our own simulation aligns with the outer realms. Let me tell you what I mean. That means I'm in a world, okay, and I don't know, I'm in somewhere, in a place, and I don't know if it's true or simulated. What do I do? Okay, so on some level, the strategy, I'm a person who loves strategy, by the way. It's, to me, strategy, which means the art of the general. That's the, like, etymology of it. Okay, it's about, in some sense, the management of present resources. And it's applicable to anything, any moment of life. You understand? Strategy becomes highlighted when there's a goal. Okay? Most human beings, who was it? Somebody said you have quotes like the unexamined life is not worth living, or Nietzsche says he who knows his why can bear through anyhow. The goal here is trying to see, okay, what is going on here? What is happening actually here on Earth? And the second thing is to try to explain that by wondering, what is the strategy of our existence, in existence, towards the nature of existence? So I feel that if I know that my body, like, okay, let me go back to this. I don't know if I'm in a simulation or not, But let me say I assume that this place is a simulation. Okay, but I still want to verify it, right? So I have to come and inside a simulation create another simulation, my own simulation inside a so they've positioned me, let's say, inside, imagine some beings created me, and this being has positioned me inside a simulation. Now inside that simulation, as a created being, I'm inside a physical simulation. What this being comes and does is like, okay, I'm going to simulate another fake world inside a world that I don't know if it's fake or not. But let's assume, I mean, this is becoming harder to explain actually like this. You're inside a fake world, but the fake world appears real to you. So you don't know if it's real or fake. What do you do, right? So I'm saying it's kind of like, you're like, okay, I didn't create this world, so I can't know how simulated it is, but I can come and use my mind to simulate a world. That means our brains, our minds, it's like our brains know, 100% know that the mind is simulated. Do you understand? So in some sense, the mind is a fictional event, and think of it this way, the body is a non-fictional event. But we don't know how non-fictional it is, so we come and project. It's like, okay, this is actually very, I think to me it's a very advanced strategy. It's like I can't do anything about this world. This world is too bigger than me to experiment, so I come and simulate a smaller world. And it's like I take this approach, let's say as an unknown being, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna simulate a world that I 100% know it's fake. So right now we're in a world where we don't know if it's true or simulated, which is another way of saying we don't know if it's real or fake. So imagine that when I look at the outer realms, I'm like, okay, 50% maybe real, 50% not real, so I don't know, right? Now imagine I come in a world that I don't know if it's real or not, and I come and intentionally simulate a fake world. Guys, this lecture is going to blow your mind. I just have to find the right way of explaining it to you. So I don't know where I am. I don't know what is true. I come and create a simulation of my own, which I know is not real, and then I compare how much of my own simulation is similar to the simulation of the world. I don't know how else, at least so far in this moment, this is how far I can see, right? That means if I wanted to understand the nature of reality, and reality's clues are limited, I need to find more clues, right? So I have to, in some sense, inside a simulation, create a simulation of my own, create another simulation, compare these simulations, and then have to do some sort of game theory in the sense of being like, okay, if this world is a simulation, then if I simulate another simulation, in some sense they should align. I'm trying to tell you, your mind is a copy-pasted version of the world. So you know it's not original. I'm not saying the soul isn't original, I'm saying the mind. So, and when I say a being simulated reality to notice truth, it's as if we added a layer of fantasy to reality to then see, is the fantasy more plausible or is the reality? This world doesn't behave in a way where, you know, it's I don't know why it's actually taking me so long to notice. We say it's dualistic, but duality is always being noticed through a third perspective. through a third viewer, third person view. So how do you know there's chaos and order? The awareness to chaos and order is like one corner, right? Chaos is another corner, and order is another corner. So if we are aware of duality, it could be a clue that we are not actually dualistic beings. Just because you see something doesn't mean you're being that. Okay? So I'm looking at this world, wondering about what's going on here, wondering about what's consciously going on here, and what is unconsciously going on, and what is subconsciously going on. And is the brain simulating itself as a mind to then be able to use its own simulated realm as a reference to see what is real? That means it's like, do you know what it is? It's kind of like similar to someone thinking that, like the sun is like, a flashlight. All right, imagine somebody thinks the sun is a flashlight. So they simulate some meaning to the moment. But that simulated meaning gives them an opportunity to verify reality. And the human existential position, even from a theological divine perspective, is just too genius. That means if they tell me what's the most genius thing you've noticed in this world, it's not people, guys, it's positions. I don't know how to say it, but this is something maybe human beings have yet to truly understand, that your position dictates your value, not your feelings. I think the mind is the brain's method of trying to see if it exists. I think a part of us is not convinced, or maybe even a little astonished by its limit. Do you know what it is? It's like, oh my God, I got it. So because the brain knows it's projecting meaning into the moment, it also knows that the moment has a reality before it projected the meaning. So in some sense, our human intelligence, just the intelligence of our body, knows that it is incomplete and is trying to find a method of completion. I think that's very true. I think our souls, I think the body, it wants to survive. The mind wants to serve. The mind is oriented in accordance to purpose. The soul, its position is beyond the mind. I think that it has to be like this because it strangely makes sense. It makes sense that if we don't know what the world is, well, we got to do something. That's the whole effort of meaning. So think of it this way. Human beings looked at this world, they couldn't understand it, but they're like, wait a minute, I can simulate a world. So they simulated another world over this world, and when your world of meaning, think of it this way. I am conscious right now. I am giving meaning to the moment. It's a meaning that has journeyed through my experiences. and let's say neural patterns, brain patterns, what I'm familiar with. I'm trying to say that we have come a very long way as a species to be able to fictionally be non-fictional. For me, I feel the brain, how do I explain this to you? I feel like there's something our personality is doing, like the moment is happening and our personality takes ownership of the moment. But sometimes I feel like I don't have to tell my heart to beat. It beats before I do it. It's smarter than me. My body is smarter than my sequential conscious prioritization of activity. That means look at all my body's organs are working at the same time, right? But when it comes to me trying to like move my right hand, let's say clockwise, and the other anti-clockwise or something, then it can't. The brain's like, I don't know what to do. Do you know what I mean? So to me, it's very strange how high level the IQ of our cells are compared to what we find the individual, like the bodies, the types of like AI in the future may be able to say this, like the body, just what's happening in the body, that the cells know where to go. Do you know? That is, in some sense, this might sound very bizarre, but the body's higher IQ than the mind. Strange phraseology, but anyways. So we gotta go and kind of like be like try to see it through the first person perspective. So I'm gonna assume like, all right, I just teleported here. I have no clue what all of this is. I have access to a little corner of reality, so everybody, somebody said it like this: you take a handful of sand from an infinite beach and you call that handful of sand your world, and as time goes forth you see it, in some sense, the sand's falling. So human beings have to understand that all of our meaning, all of our reality is a chunk of this reality, but it's not a majority of it. That means right now in this moment, I'm aware of the activity of one human being in existence, myself right now alone, giving a talk, right? But how many other things are active simultaneously? How many different modes of life? How many different people with different feelings to different circumstances, or even the same circumstances? Do you understand? To me, what I find at least a clue and also remarkable, and it's one of the most beautiful things, and it's the only reason I still believe in love, right? Among humans, okay, is that we are unknown souls. That means your body, you'll be like, yeah, it's like I was born on this nation, I'll be like, okay. Your mind, yeah, I went through this life journey, I'll be like, okay. But in some sense, the presence of being. I am telling you that I feel our body's intelligence knows the mind is simulated, but it has to act like it's real so it can tell apart if its own simulation is similar to the outer realms, therefore concluding it's a simulation, or not similar to the outer realms. And I can tell you that it's a very strange situation, that it could be that the exact opposite of our minds is true, or exactly what our mind sees is true. Both are possibilities, okay? Right? But I'm pretty much saying it's like we're simulating a world inside a world, and then trying to see how this world treats our simulated world. And because it doesn't treat it as truth, that means a human being, can treat reality as like, truth, right? You can go and think something's true, but how true does your world consider you? I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about on an existential level. There has to be a better metaphor I can use here. Let me see. It's like, imagine you gave someone a tool, okay? Let's say you gave someone a hammer, but they've never seen a hammer. They can't fathom what it's made for, okay? So imagine you give somebody a hammer, they didn't create the hammer, and all they know is that they have to use this, but they don't know what to use it for. The person comes and looks at the hammer, or let's say even a wrench. You know, they come and look at a wrench, right? And they're like, why is this shaped like this? The person doesn't even know what nuts and bolts are, right? And they're just looking at this wrench and they're like, what is this used for? Do I use a wrench to like break twigs or branches or something? You know, what am I, do you know? And so the person doesn't know the purpose, doesn't know the purpose or the exact utility of the tool they've been given, right? So the person doesn't know what to do with a hammer. They've given him a hammer. He doesn't know it's a hammer. He doesn't know what it's used for, right? But they've given him a hammer. Now, this person can just start using the hammer, which is the typical approach that many human beings, even before figuring out or life having a meaning, they're being active. You know, we're moving before we know why we're moving, in a strange way. You know, or we're unconsciously living life before we consciously notice we're living it. You know, and that unconscious life started from a very reactive phase, right? That means when you look at human beings, and it's not like we're perfect, we're not machines, right? But usually, especially when you, I guess, pass your 30s, your emotions on yourself don't matter as much. I don't know how to explain it. It's like the world's become not just bigger, but its dimensions have increased. How do I say it? Anyways, let me go back to the thing. So the guy has a wrench. He's been given a tool. He doesn't know how to use this tool. Okay? And then he's like, all right, I have no clue what to use this tool for, but I'm going to go and try to create something like a tool of my own. Right? And the person looks at what their moment requires, and imagine instead of a wrench, like they don't know how to use a wrench, but the guy finds a stick. Okay, they find a stick, you know, or he creates something with a stick. Okay, and then he goes and uses that to see in some sense its utility. I think the biggest issue, even theologically, I shouldn't say it's not an issue, just from perspective of man it's an issue, is that we don't know what our utility is, which is also a very strange concept, because people in our culture, we have this, in Western culture, you have this view where if you hear the sentence like, yo man, like what is that person's use, or it's like, you know, or that person was using another person, like that's a very negative connotation in Western culture. Okay, but I think for a person to wonder about how is my value based on my use, that means, think of it this way. I think the mind is, honestly, I'll say this, I think the mind, just the fact that there is mind, can be seen as a strategy for a type of intelligence that wants to see how is its creative force different from the force that has created it. That means I don't want to go as far as saying like existence is God's ego, because in Islam God is beyond humanizable. God is beyond human. And what is even the point of truth? Is it an ultimate stare down? Is it an ultimate acceptance? Like when you reach truth, are you like, all right, I reached truth, there's nothing else to do? If we did not create the system, we cannot act like we know the whole system. But if we are in a system that we didn't create and we create our own system and be like, okay, is my simulation aligned with the simulation of existence? That means humans are not behaving like their world. We're not behaving naturally. Now, this unnatural could be of a lesser world or a higher world. That means a being more advanced than you may appear unnatural to you, or a being inferior to you, lesser than you, may appear that way. I don't know, I feel like a part of us knows that it doesn't completely know and is using whatever it can access, it can know to actually get to know reality. But my understanding of this realm has been that the higher planes are about an awareness to presence. The lower realms are about an awareness to personality, and lower than that to form. So me being aware of my body and me being aware of my thoughts and me being aware that I'm aware, these are like three types of awareness as one awareness. Me even being aware that there is a higher power here. It is greater than us. That means your ego will be defeated once you realize your values bound to your condition. You're in a conditional environment. Truth, as the ancients saw it, was unconditional. But human beings cannot engage the unconditional. It's like if truth is unknown, then you require an unknown self to access it. If truth is known, then you require known self to access it, right? Now, right now on Earth, we're being known selves in what we think is a known world, but the known self and the known world are simultaneously in a much bigger event which is unknown, therefore rendering them unknown. That means human knowledge is a known simulation of an unknown simulation, and human beings are using knowledge to understand the unknown and to verify it. I think this verification, it should have been very easy, but I don't know, maybe culture drifted us or something. Oh my god, I'm yawning too much. Oh my god. Alright. When I yawn, that means I'm not seeing it. I should envision this more in the inner realms. Okay. So I'm saying the mind is the brain strategy to discover truth, and then I've written what did I write? A being simulates reality to know truth, to notice truth. I think it was something like that. I'm saying that it could be that we're taking our mind as if it's us, okay? But it could be that the mind is a strategy. It's very strange. We are honestly between worlds. One is physical and public, the other and objective, the other is subjective, non-physical and private. And communication allows the connection between the privacy of our inner life and the publicity of our outer life. So you're living a private life, a hidden life behind your eyes, and I know all of you are, everyone is, okay? And you're living a life that you show to people. So when I was a kid, I had a rock collection, but when I wanted to show the rock collection, I wouldn't show all the rocks. Like, yeah, I would open the box of rocks, but I would show the specific rare rocks, you know? Anyways, I guess to bring this towards some sort of conclusion. I don't know, guys. Help me see this clear. If you can see this, maybe you can see what I'm trying to do here. I see myself as a designer. I notice that the intelligence of the human is an awareness to design, and this awareness in certain ranges is capable of like engaging the design, identifying as the design. So really one of the biggest questions in life is that, are we a force in some sense moving a form, or are we a form that's generating force? Or do you see what I'm saying? Like which one are we? Are we an unknown verb moving a known noun? Do you know? Or are we a known noun that's manifesting as an unknown verb? Like there's a complexity, I don't know, there's a depth there. And I don't know, in earlier talks of mine, way earlier, I would use this term called reference points, which honestly from the first book I ever wrote, that notion arose. And so it's like, I'm trying to say the body is using the mind as a reference point to get to see either the brain is constantly trying to see what it is, or it's constantly trying to see what it is not. Both are approaches. I think when you try to see what you are not, that the confidence of that is way greater than you wanting to be something. A being that simulates reality to notice truth. Therefore, we know that our minds are not true. Because our minds are not the world, the whole world. Pretty much life, like external life in front of your eyes, it's imagination that you didn't have to imagine. it's free imagination. Like so many things in life, you got to sit down, think about it, look at it from different angles, wonder, contemplate, articulate. But existence, no, it's like something before you were born had done the calculations. We're living inside the architecture of an architect that cannot be based on inside the architecture. Do you understand? That means the architect is not living in the building it's architected, but it knows every part of it. And if that building was conscious, it would know everything about how the architect has designed it. I'm trying to say that I think the mind is something that's being done, not so that the mind is actually reality, but that the mind can be used as a reference to figure out reality. That means if I look at someone and I go like, yo, that's a great person. I've talked to them once. You know, they're such a lovely, nice person, right? It's as if that's a claim. And imagine I go and see that person wasn't nice. That person was just saying something nice. And so I had to assume that person was nice to get to see actually if they were nice or not. Do you understand? It's like we need to get deceived so we can tell apart what is deception, what is not. And from this perspective, it shifts the theological game between like a moderator that is anti-human influencing us and a system admin that created the original human. Do you know? So there's something that's managing us and there's something that created us, and there's a conflict, and mankind is being tested. You're actually being tested on if you consider the simulated as true or not. I'm reaching this point where I'm realizing I first assumed that the nature of my body was the nature of reality. Now, I've noticed the nature of the mind for some time, and I feel maybe it's tonight that I've reached that point of realizing the nature of my mind cannot explain the nature of reality. In the same way, the nature of my body could not explain the nature of my mind. So the nature of my mind cannot explain the nature of the soul. The soul is the 100%, you can say, unknown self. The mind is 50% known, 50% unknown. The body is 100% known. We see it. It's like the soul, since time immemorial, has been that part of you that you cannot see, but you're being. So it's like you're being something that you can't notice. You're being something that you kind of notice, and then you're being something you actually 100% notice. And the reason I am saying this is my body is because I'm moving it. That means if someone else was moving my body like a remote controller, I couldn't say this is my body. Right? The identity is aligned to its ability to change. So it's like free will is like a force's ability to change. Anyways, folks, I hope this lecture has been helpful so far. I gotta really end it, aside from the fact that it's raining. And that was the point I wanted to get across. Really, I just felt that what if the meaning of my life is a reference point for me to figure out the actual meaning of reality? That means, like, I don't need my meaning, like the way I look at life and what it means to me to be 100% true. But it's very important I use that meaning to figure out the truth. That means it's like you're in a false place, and instead of being true, you're like, wait a minute. If it's like the moment you try to be empty in emptiness, you notice what's actually there that cannot let the moment be empty. I feel life is all about either the superior view is faith. Faith is the ultimate station for free will. Why? Because free will is doing things because it doesn't trust reality. It's not like automated, it's manually doing it. We're manually being entities right now. Okay? But I feel that in higher modes of being, it's not manual, it's automatic. They're not wasting time being shaped entities when mere intention can be presence. They are present by attention. To be honest, as a religious person, reality's value is in the presence of the system admin. That means I can know whether my own world is true or not, but I cannot know if this world 100% is true or not. Because I didn't create it, I don't know. But it feels to me too designed, and because it's too designed, it feels like it's not the point. This might sound strange, but I don't think the point of life is to go explore an endless world. No. Why am I anywhere at all, being anything at all? Perhaps there's something to be done that I don't know. That means there's been moments in my life where I'm like, why does God or the system admin need me as a user? Like, what is the value of a lost soul for the original truth? And it's an appreciation of the original, and I think that's the purpose. I think we're not here to just be like, yo man, I found truth, it's done. No. I think we're here to notice that if what created us is beyond us, and if we have a connection, a link established with that system admin, it's as if a power beyond us created us, but when we notice our creation, it feels like a higher power. Like, honestly, my mind and intellect feels like a higher power than my body. The awareness to all the objects and subjects of my experience feels like a higher power. The awareness to the unknown feels like a greater power. The awareness that all the unknown is in the presence of that which knows beyond this known reality. We're in the presence of the revelation of the mysteries of reality. What I mean by this is that this system is beyond us, yet we're in it, and it's like an actor on a film set that it didn't create, it's just there to perform. Yeah, that's a good metaphor. Anyways, thank you for listening. Wonder about the nature of reality, wonder how simulated it is, how true it is, wonder about what strategies are being used and utilized. I wanted to actually read a research component, but I'm too exhausted, unfortunately. And also, I feel like this is one of those episodes where I'm not here to give you an answer. I'm trying to ask you if in what other ways can the world move, really. For it doesn't matter, excuse me, for it doesn't matter if we are actually simulations, like a simulated being. We are in the presence of truth, for the simulation is a simulation of the original. That means before any simulations, before any fake worlds, there must be a real world so that a world can be fake too. The original is the presence of all power. There is an original being. There's an original earth. There's an original self. The original self will realize that its original life, think of it this way. If you are between a beastly hell and an angelic heaven, then the different aspects of your intelligence have learned from both. And you know what? We share being created with all that is created. That means it's very strange. I have a twin brother. I consider him as my sibling. But should all my atoms consider all the other atoms of manifestation as their sibling? How does meaning move? Or could it be that that which moves is beyond the meaning? And of course, the system admin, God only knows. Thank you for listening, folks. Have a great night. And there is a higher power here. But if the lower power stops acting like it can notice. Maybe it can, that's how you notice. Sometimes if you start trying to be true all the time, perfect all the time, great all the time, you will be able to notice greatness. Sometimes the simplest beings and the most complex beings meet. Because in their inner realms is the opposite. That means, like, somebody externally could in their outer lives be very complex, but in their inner lives very simple. Somebody could be living a very complex inner life, but in their outer life it's very simple. And I think these two beings are a match. Because beings learn from each other's abilities in different realities. But I also believe that you must request. That means allow your heart to remind you that there was a purity, innocence, and presence to you before the world defined you like a soldier equipped in World War II, and just sent you forth. My beloved human species, the maturity of the human species will mean in some sense that we must be able to discriminate between how we are generating meaning and how we are finding meaning. Generating meaning is like living in a world you made for yourself. Finding meaning is like you living in a world that you didn't create for yourself, and you want to see what other ways that world is. That means, what have I not yet seen of my physical self? What have I not yet seen of my non-physical self? That means, what is the greatest thing that my body will do on this earth? What is the greatest view that my mind will access? And what is the greatest passage, or how will my soul pass the simulated testing zone? For now, all the clues point that it's one through the system admin's mercy, but one must approach truth if they don't want to be contained by the simulation. That means some part of you has to be like, okay, what if I'm wrong? What if others are wrong? What if everybody's wrong? And I have to start from scratch to figure this out. And the maturity is to be responsible, not just for the known aspects of life, but for the unknown. Do you know how many people are not responsible for their unknown life and all the unknown they see? They just, whatever they know, they think that's what life is limited to. That means, you tell me, which person is a more advanced being? Someone that is interested in what they don't know, or fascinated by what they don't know, or somebody who is fascinated by what they know? Which one is more advanced to you? I'm asking this from the viewers. Now, the answer in my books is, in my view, is that those who confront the unknown, it is a way of God's mercy, so you can get to truly know this life. And so, as a Muslim, I will say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, which means all praise due to the Lord of the worlds, the original powers, all simulations. As you get closer to God, the truth of reality is singular and simple, because in the presence of ultimate power, there is no effort. That means nothing is difficult for the system admin. It's us that reality is difficult. So many of the values that exist for us, by just believing in God, means you believe in a position of being where these values don't apply. That means if someone believes in God, let's say as a Muslim, you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what that means is you believe in the original power and administrating force beyond the conditioned world room. That means this world is here. If beings notice that truth is beyond form, they will become students of that meaning. Your decisions in life are not just creating a life for you, they are suggesting how far life can go. Because we cannot ignore power and logic. Till as far as human beings are logical, there will be power. And what was all of Machiavellianism about? Right? The dudes, that was a point in history where strategy evolved from realizing that deception can happen on a psychological level. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced.